Hey everybody, I'm going to do yet another video on what seems to be everybody's favorite topic, heart disease, statins, and the like. More and more questions come in from people on this topic, and the more I coach people in the UTC and recognize the meds they're on, including statins, I'm always blown away. I always send people a litany of information about what they need to know about statins, because every time I talk to people one-on-one, when I'm coaching them, I start saying to them, let me guess, you're tired all the time, your muscles hurt, you feel weak, you have erectile dysfunction. All of these things are what go along with statin medications. And guess what, everybody? Before the end of this video, you're gonna figure out what's going on and how we can resolve this in a much better way. But I've been saying this a long time. I just have to, I don't know, I just have to smile sometimes because yeah, unless you're willing to do the research, everybody, go ahead. Keep having trouble in the bedroom. Keep having those muscle pains, those weaknesses, whatever you got to do. That's fine. So my man Stan sent me a text. Stan, you may recall, I did a video about him back in Christmas time. We had a conversation during Christmas dinner about him losing weight and eating cholesterols and his blood markers, LDL, HDL, all this stuff. Long story short, we had a conversation. I said, hey, listen, man, do this, do that, do the other thing. Boom. He started having great results with his blood work, started losing some weight. He had a lot of trouble losing weight for a long time. So he sent me out of the blue this text, which reads, hey, Tom, loved the last video on how you were able to get such feats of strength with a runner's body. Shows you can do anything you set your mind to. Got my blood work results. I do it every 6 months. Total cholesterol went up about 20 points, but LDL and VLDL and triglycerides stayed about the same. My HDL went up another 3 points, making almost a 7-point climb in a year, meaning his HDL went up 7 points, so that's your good cholesterol. I also lost another 7 pounds since the last blood work for a total of 15 pounds lost so far this year. Doctor said she was concerned about the LDL being elevated. Any advice? Yes, I do have advice. It's going to be the same advice that I continue to give and you can continue to look into. First of all, like I said, and I stick by this, and I stick by this with very strong, solid evidence, all of which I'm happy to give to you, not from one source, not from 2 sources, not from a dozen sources, but from dozens and dozens of sources that say the same thing. One marker doesn't make the difference, everybody. If your LDL is elevated, remember, we want to look at what is the VLDL, what is HDL, what are your triglycerides, what is your blood pressure. We want to look at all of the evidence. So first of all, if your LDL is elevated, I want to know, what is your VLDL? That's your very low density lipoprotein. That is the more deleterious form of LDL particle, for reasons that I already went into in other videos. I'm not going to go into this now. However, if you don't know what it is on your blood work, I can guarantee you, here's the correlation. Look at your HDL. What is it? Is it above where it should be? Because it should be. Men should have HDL over 50. That's your goal. Are your triglycerides normal? If your triglycerides are under 150 and your HDL is over 50, I guarantee your VLDL is below the normal range, which is what you want. You want it low. You want it down. You don't want it elevated. Now, the reasons for that I've talked about in other videos, but that's an important thing to understand. This is what I mean. Your body's telling a story. So just because one thing is high, remember, LDL particles come in all shapes and sizes. There's small ones and they're big ones. We want the big, fluffy, buoyant ones. Those are the things that make your hormones, many of your hormones, testosterone, cortisol, which yes, you do need cortisol. Why do you need cortisol? Because cortisol happens to be the hormone that is the most anti-inflammatory hormone of your body. Now, the reason why high cortisol levels are a problem is, what do you think it's telling you? If your cortisol levels are constantly high all the time, what is that telling you? It means that your body is chronically inflamed. And guess what, everybody? If there's one thing that maps onto heart disease, it's chronic inflammation. That we know for sure. And guess what? Let me say it again. You need those light, fluffy, buoyant LDL particles to make hormones like cortisol, testosterone. All these things are important, okay? Now, Aside from that, if we know that the VLDL is where it should be, the triglycerides are where they should be, the blood pressure is where it should be, the triglycerides are where it should be, just because your LDL is elevated doesn't mean anything. Well, it just means that your LDL is elevated. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Guys, there is a mounting evidence to support the fact that higher LDL is actually beneficial for some people. Okay, now I want you to think about LDL being sort of like, how tall are you? Okay, some people just have higher LDL levels. Now, you could also have higher LDL levels based on your diet, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So meaning if you're following a very high ketogenic diet, meaning that you're using ketones as your main energy source instead of glycogen, which is very hard to do. A lot of people think they're following a ketogenic diet. I promise you, unless you're testing your ketones every day to see what those ketones are with urine strips, you're probably not following a ketogenic diet. But nevertheless, why is it that people who follow a ketogenic diet would naturally have higher LDL particles? Again, if you measure what's going on with LDL, the VLDL will stay low, the triglycerides will stay normal, the blood pressure will stay normal, these people will tend to lose weight, everything in the body seems to be more optimized, meaning those light, fluffy particles are more available in the body to be used to make hormones, to help your brain cognitive function, because guess what? Some of the consequences of being on statin medications are things like memory loss, cognitive decline, like I said before, muscle aches or weakness, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, trouble sleeping. All of these things are well-documented issues with statins. But here's the other thing. How can we fix, if you're worried about your LDL, what are some of the things that keep LDL in balance or keep heart health optimized? Well, here's the thing. How many times have you heard me talk about ubiquinol or CoQ10? Now, ubiquinol is the reduced form of CoQ10. So ubiquinol or CoQ10, vitamin C, vitamin D3, vitamin K2 are all things you've heard me talk about, as well as fish oil. Now, fish oil is more for triglycerides, but it also helps sway the balance of fatty acids in your body, away from omega-6s and more towards omega-3s. But all these over time together have a net good result on the body. Here's the deal. If you're taking these things, and if you're following, here's the key, guys, here's the key, a normal diet, meaning number one thing in the UTC is stay away from sugar. Number one thing, I go through all of the problems with a high sugar diet right in the beginning of the book. Talks about the fact that we eat almost 100 grams a day. That's about 6.5 to 7 pounds of sugar a month. That is closing in on 100 pounds of sugar for many people a year. This is the number one problem. When we combine a high sugar diet with highly refined carbs, with lack of movement, with lack of sleep, with the fact that we are putting our bodies through chronic stress emotionally, physically, by sitting too much, we don't breathe correctly. Guys, this is the issue. We're not getting in the exercise, we're eating too much sugar, too many refined carbs. This is the net result of high LDL, especially the VLDL cholesterol. I promise you that. I assure you that. Start exercising, start moving your body, reduce the sugar, reduce the refined carbs, and you're going to notice a profound difference in your blood work. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is, as far as statins, everything that I just said about vitamin D3 and K2, how it affects calcium in your body. Vitamin D3 frees up calcium. I did a whole video on this. Vitamin K2 takes that calcium and puts it where it belongs, which is in teeth and bone. Okay, why does that matter? Because arterial walls calcify, everybody. That becomes the issue. Okay, so taking the calcium and putting it where it belongs in the body, in teeth and bones, that matters. Vitamin D3 helps make the calcium in your body available, and K2 puts it where it belongs. Well, guess what statins do? It reduces the function of these two things in your body, as well as ubiquinol. Does that sound like a good idea to be taking? See, this is what I mean, guys. Do your research. Take what you're supposed to take, move your body, adjust your diet, and enjoy, everybody, your time in the bedroom. Enjoy the strength that you were meant to have as a human being. Stop walking around with muscle cramps and muscle fatigue and start living life. Change your diet, move your body, take the right supplements, and start listening to me and tuning in. All right, if you want to prove me wrong or throw me some evidence up to the otherwise, I'm happy to respond to it, because you will be able to find things that that will counter what I'm saying. And I'm happy to respond specifically to what and why and how they're saying what they're saying. But I would ask you to pay particular attention to these things called statistics, because I can do a whole nother video just on statistics. Because if you look at what and who and why people are benefiting from statins, okay, what you'll notice is that this is a general population group. The amount that they're actually benefiting is so minimal. And here's the bigger thing, guys. The bigger thing is nobody's talking about D3, K2, vitamin C, ubiquinol, moving their body, changing their diet. Guys, do that, and I promise you, and that's been proven, that changing the diet alone has magnitudes of order, is more efficient and effective than statins. Just by changing diet alone, way more effective. So if you have any further questions, I'm happy to go into it. The video's already running too long, but hopefully this answers your questions, everybody. Have a great day.